Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you on Business Today's television. In our section of superstar funds, today we are focusing on the blue chip variety with a nice spotlight on Canara Robecco large cap fund, which is trading at a net asset value of 73.5 rupees per unit. This is a top quality fund in which 80% of its AUM, which is somewhere like 16,400 crores, is invested in large caps. We'll come to the portfolio a little later, but a top quality fund which has given phenomenal returns to investors over the medium term. If you look at how the fund has structured itself in the last 12 years, in its direct route, the fund has given a spectacular return of about 16.3%, which essentially means that your SIP of 10,000 rupees a month, which totals somewhere like 14,040 rupees, 14 lakh 40,000 rupees over a 12-year period, is now somewhere like 41 lakh rupees. What is really interesting is that for the first time we show you another interesting calculation, which is with a lump sum. If you were fortunate at some point of time in January of 2013 and you had put in a lump sum of 1 lakh rupees plus a monthly SIP of 10,000 rupees, then the amount would have been 47 lakh rupees. So an early start with a lump sum, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the best things that you can do for your own financial health. Now let us come back to how Canara Robecco large cap fund is structured. What is really interesting about this fund is that in the rolling 5-year period, which is no matter which 5-year period you take between any date and the same date 5 years later, this has been one of the most consistent outperformers on Dalal Street. For about 87% of the time, Canara Robecco large cap fund has beaten its benchmark, which itself is a wonderful thing to have in your portfolio. As is the name, a large cap fund invests about 80% of its corpus in top 100 companies as far as market capitalization is concerned. And that's the reason, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the portfolio, it has a plethora of nifty companies. There is, amongst banks, ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank, Reliance Industries and Infosys are amongst the top investments as far as this fund is concerned. In fact, it's a concentrated holding. If you look at the top 5 stocks, which is HDFC Bank, ICICI, Reliance Industries, Infosys and Bharti Airtel, about 32% of the AUM is in this particular 5 stocks. So 32% of 16,400 would make it about 5,250 crores. It is a concentrated portfolio, as I have said. And if you look at the top 10 stocks, about 47%, roughly about 8,000 crore rupees, 7,800 crore rupees is invested in top 10 stocks, which also include engineering giant L&T, SUV and rural giant M&M, State Bank of India, India's largest bank, Zomato, UltraTech Cement. So it's a concentrated holding of good quality stocks as far as Canara Robecco large cap fund is concerned. And the interesting part now comes a little deeper when you look at how this particular fund is structured in terms of long-term returns. Interesting data when you look at the 10-year performance as far as Canara Robecco long-term fund, large cap fund is concerned. The sheet is right there in front of you. And what is really interesting is how it stacks right up when it comes to the peer group. It ranks second in the quartile ranking as far as its peers are concerned. In the period which is total returns of about 19%, this is also one of the very top performers that we have in the country as far as large cap funds are concerned. Let me just share with you some interesting data as to how the sectoral portfolio is constructed as far as top 5 sectors are concerned. Needless to add, financials are overweight. About 32% of the fund is into financials versus the category average of about 31%. So, more or less there. Technology is also equal weight, about 14.7% of fund is into technology stocks, which is in line with the sectoral average. Consumer discretionary is something which Canara Robecco is overweight on, and that's also an interesting thought that is coming at this point of time, because GST rate cuts and of course good monsoon and the ratings upgrade is likely to bring a lot of cheer to Dalal Street. Maybe this space is something that can be looked forward to in terms of outperformance. You have energy and utilities at about 8.45% of the fund in terms of sectoral allocations, which is less than the 11.3% that the peers have done. In terms of portfolio aggregates, you have giant companies, stocks like RIL, stocks like HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, market capitalizations in excess of 10 lakh crore rupees. They constitute about 80% of the overall portfolio. Mid caps have a very, very small percentage, just 1.7%, and of course large cap stocks are at about 18% of overall portfolio. The cash equivalent in Canara Robecco large cap fund is about 4%. If you look at the portfolio, which is the price to book ratio of the overall portfolio, that's roughly 4, and the price to book, the price to equity ratio for the entire portfolio is also somewhere in the vicinity of about 26. So that's the overall broad structure of Canara Robecco large cap fund. Remember, what's really interesting is that you should only have one large cap fund in your portfolio. There is no need to have multiple large cap funds, for a very basic reason that as per the law, they are allowed to invest 80% of their AUM into large cap stocks, which is the first 100 companies. So there is a lot of overlap that occurs between large cap funds of different AMCs. So if you are fond of a large cap fund, which indeed should be the bedrock of your mutual fund portfolio, then it is necessary that you have just one large cap scheme, and Canara Robecco large cap fund of course is one of those long term outperformers that has done immensely well over the medium as well as long term. So this is something that you can look at. Please also consult an individual advisor from the world of mutual funds to actually advise you whether to go for this or not. But the returns, the performance in times of distress, and the performance in times of bull markets for Canara Robecco large cap fund has been phenomenal, and it is a fund that should be a part of your long term portfolio, provided your advisor agrees to it. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with such wonderful news a little later also at 2 p.m. today. So keep an eye out on Canara Robecco large cap fund. Thank you for watching.